All right, y'all. Welcome back. Happy Monday. Crazy things are going on. You know, it's been a whole lot of speculation on what's going to happen with Tennessee's defensive coordinator, Tim Banks. What we found out today, you know, and our members found out first. So shouts out to our members. If y'all want to get the breaking news, the most up-to-the-minute types of breaking news, then join us on our Patreon at patreon.com/Bluechip Breakdown, or you can join us as members here on YouTube by clicking on the join button just below this video. But yeah, man, Coach Banks is no longer going to be our defensive coordinator. There's been a whole lot of gnashing of the teeth from our fan base, wanting him to either, you know, just move on or, you know, whatever. And I'm not 100% sure, was he fired or was he let go, like, or not fired or let go? Like, was he fired or did he move on to a different job or something like that necessarily? So I'm not too much going to speak on that. Like, I'm talking about like what really happened, because they'll put out like whatever narrative, and I'm perfectly fine with that. I hate to see people get fired or whatever. But we're going to be breaking down several things, man. Like, why did Coach Banks, why is he no longer Tennessee's defensive coordinator? And who can we go out to get moving forward? I think that as a Tennessee fan, you got to be excited about changes. You know, because this team has needed changes. It's not just with the defense. The offense needs to make some changes too. And I don't necessarily mean people getting fired. I don't even think that as far as the coaches on this staff currently, who's here, doesn't mean that they'll still be here. You know what I mean? I think that there are some more changes coming. I'll just say it that way. But y'all please do make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. And let me tap into the chat first, because I know that y'all have been waiting. Sorry that we got started just a little bit later than the time that we had out there. But let me tap in with the members. Of course, the members get to go first, members and super chats. All right, so this one from JT Lynn saying that he wasn't fired, so I wasn't totally wrong. Next time. Okay. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Best time to quit is right before they fire you. Yeah, so like I said, and I don't know why, for some reason, bro, your chats are coming in like twice. But either way, it's all good. Like I said, I'm not sure exactly if he was let go, which I'm going to tell y'all straight up, it sounds more like that is the case. They might have a different narrative out there. But either way, all right, JT saying, I keep seeing Banks resign / step down. Yep. So that's just kind of what we was just talking about. Let me move forward right here from Marshall. So who do we go get now? We'll talk about it. Yeah, actually, you know what? It's funny because for some reason, I'm getting all of these coming in twice. I think that might be my fault, y'all. Let me get that fixed. We'll go ahead and get that fixed real quick. Okay. So this one right here from Dylan. Sorry about that, Dylan. I pulled you up twice, but saying hallelujah. I know a lot of folks was waiting on this day. Like I said, I'm never really too happy about it. And also keep in mind that there are a lot of players, like P and I talked about yesterday, that really like Coach Banks. And if we go get a totally new defensive coordinator, some of the coaches, you know, that's currently on the staff, they might have to go just off the rip. And that's not necessarily going to be like a positive thing. You know, I feel like we could lose some players from that standpoint. But as of right now, Coach Inge is like the interim DC. I mean, I'm going to tell you, I don't know. It just kind of sounds like, from what I've heard, it sounds like at this point, he might end up being the guy. Yeah, I think that is possible, so keep that in mind as well. But let's go ahead and jump into what was the problem with Coach Banks, all right? And it's going to be kind of tough for y'all to see this, so just bear with me, but I'm going to pull it up, right? So these are the SEC stats, and this is defense on this side. This is for all games. I'll try to go in there and do it just like with SEC, but they only show like 3 to 4 games, so you can't get like a real taste of anything. But this is just scoring defense. So as far as scoring defense, Tennessee's down here at number 14. Now, we know that we had some injuries. We had some problems. Always tough. But being at number 14, really, like, we can't be in that spot because this defense is, in all honesty, it is too talented for that. Now, we can take a look at the totals. All right, let's see how the totals look. So this is as far as total defense. This is just total yards and all of that. Coach Banks, but the defense is still sitting at number 14. Just not good enough. Giving up about 400 yards, 396 yards per game, right? That's just not going to get it done. Make sure that everything is still rocking and rolling. Okay, so we still good from that standpoint. Now, as far as the rush defense, something that Tennessee historically has been pretty good at. Down to number 12, so giving up about 147 yards per game on the ground. Not going to cut it. Like, all this stuff for the defense is on the bottom half of the conference. And again, it's not just versus SEC teams, it's with the whole schedule. Y'all can see the column of games right here. All right, so as far as what is this, passing? All right, so passing defense. The passing defense actually, I want to say was a little bit, oh, no, it was actually worse. So we're sitting at number 15. So almost dead last, right? How many yards were we giving up right there? Giving up, okay, here we go. Giving up 249, almost 249 yards per game. All right, so and that's well, we could take a look at the conversions, opponent first downs. So our defense is at number 15 right there. And they don't, what else they got in here? Third downs. All right, Tennessee's at number 13 as far as third downs, giving that up at about 40%. Fourth down conversions, Tennessee sitting at number 10. So everything with our defensive stats was on the bottom half of the conference. That's just not gonna get it done, and we all know that. So let me show you, because we're talking about some of the names of who could we go out and maybe target. Okay, well, the first one that we talked about yesterday is going to be Coach Bryant Haynes, defensive coordinator at Indiana. We talked about it yesterday. We actually put a film breakdown for our members showing you how his defense looks. And while y'all are kind of like looking over some of these numbers, y'all can see the difference as far as the blue chip caliber players. That's 4 and 5 stars. We pull those numbers from 24/7 Sports with Coach Banks' defense this season versus Brian Haynes' defense at Indiana. Now, our defense was really young, played a bunch of young guys early on, bunch of young defensive tackles. We played some freshmen like Marion Dye. He played at strong side defensive end a lot early on. Had a true freshman starting at corner. We lost our 2 starting corners. Like after the first quarter of the first game versus Syracuse. So we got a transfer portal cornerback that wasn't super like highly rated, coming from Colorado, but he's played well, turned himself into a first round draft pick. Shouts out to Coach E.T., who is our cornerbacks coach. And I think that Tyler Redmond also played well at safety. We got a freshman playing there. Played some young like freshman linebackers over the course of the year, both of the Jadens. You know what I mean? Is Jordan Burns? I think he might be a redshirt freshman. Edwin Spillman, redshirt freshman. We played a lot of young guys. So just understand that. It does make a difference, especially playing defense, where it's a lot more physical. And in all honesty, I know football is a physical game, but defense is a lot like you got to go seek the contact, Offense, you can kind of wall folks off and, all of that. But either way, super talented versus what Indiana has. And you can see the strength of schedule for both of those teams. Like I said yesterday, man, I feel like Indiana doesn't want to trade schedule with Tennessee's schedule this season, I promise you, because they wouldn't be in the same spot. But even still, like, I think relatively speaking, Indiana's still like the least talented team in the Big Ten. Look at the numbers that they put up, right? Like, look at his numbers versus Coach Banks' numbers, all the way down the list. I mean, that's like an elite-looking defense. So, yeah, I mean, you could totally understand, like, you got to be able to get things done. Doesn't really matter at the end of the day. Can you bring us results? That's the biggest thing. All right, so moving forward, this is how their defensive schemes kind of break down. Some of the differences here. So for Indiana, they're running a lot more base defense, which is more of like your 4-3s, 3-4s, where you got more linebackers and less secondary players. If you can, trust me when I tell you, it's better if you could play a base defense. If you've got like a will linebacker who would come on in place of the nickel player or Tennessee star player, that is a way better. Like, you want to have the biggest, strongest, fastest people out there, period, point blank, right? So if you can do it, if you have the personnel to be able to get that done, then that's obviously better. Tennessee had the personnel this season, and we just couldn't get it done. Now, part of the reason for it is because we couldn't play our younger guys, because this is a tough system to get picked up. That's something else, is that, we broke it down what Coach Bryant Haynes is doing with his defensive scheme for our members inside of the film room. And what I gathered from it is that his defense is a lot more simple. Now, the defense needs to be somewhat complicated, because you need to have different answers. Like, teams are going to shift, they're going to motion, they're going to try to put you in some bad situations. So you have to be able to like adjust with your defensive scheme. But I do think that Coach Banks, he could have dumbed the scheme down by at least 30%, and it still would have been a pretty complicated defense. But we've even heard guys like Coach Saban talk about last season. Earlier in the year, well, man, this defense was very complicated. They were doing a lot of different things. And after Keenan Pili went down, we had to dumb the defense down. So the whole point is that we really could have run more base defense if it wasn't as complicated. So I think that really would have helped Tennessee's defense out from top to bottom, because we didn't have great star play. All right, as far as the blitzing, Tennessee actually blitzed a lot. I want to say we were at number 4 in the SEC, but Indiana blitzed more. So if we were to go and get a defensive coordinator like Coach Haynes, I would anticipate it's more simplistic with the overall scheme, but you're dialing up more pressures. Now, if you're looking at 6-man pressures, right? So bringing more than 5. Tennessee does more of that. Indiana is not really bringing a lot, but they mix things up, but it's still simple if all that makes sense. But coverages, Indiana runs a whole lot of zone. Coach Banks wants to run more man. We tried it, the bump and run coverage earlier in the year. Wasn't great, so we had to switch it and play more off coverage. But it's just like styles make fights. Overall, you could run any sort of a defensive scheme as long as the players understand what they're doing and they can play fast. So that's pretty much it from this part of it. But I would love to go out and get Coach Haynes. I think that could be an upgrade from the standpoint of just kind of like dumbing things down, finding ways to get it done, doing more with less. But at the same time, the offenses in the SEC are a lot more complicated than the offenses in the Big Ten, and it's going to be significantly more talented. It is different. Can he hold up on this level? I don't know. There is no. I would say he could probably be an upgrade, but guys like Jim Knowles and some of these other guys, I feel like that could be an upgrade because they can be complicated, but they've also shown that they can dumb it down and get it to the players and also to like the different coaches, right? So that they understand what the heck is going on because that's a huge part of it too, right? Like people need to know what's going on and it can't be overly complicated. Actually, Coach Banks would be a good like NFL defensive coordinator. He's not an idiot. We don't have any idiots on this staff. I know that some people think that, but that's just not the case. So let me get to my dog, Tay. Tay saying that this is exciting. Our defense was so bad this year that blowout Vanderbilt loss at home in Neyland was way too much to overcome. I think that's really what it all came down to. Whether he was fired or not, I think that it was kind of trending we had to cut ties with somebody. Like I said, I don't think that we're done. I think that the strength coach, we need to upgrade there too. But either way, you can't like let Vanderbilt put up those types of numbers at home and think that it's going to be okay. That's just not how this thing goes. All right, let me see who else we got in here. So this one from Caleb asking, do I think that this will cause a lot of players to transfer out? I don't know. It just really all depends. So not at this point. I think that it was smart by Coach Heupel to hold on to Coach Inge. Coach Inge, Coach Garner, those are the guys that you really want to hold on to because players love those guys. And like I said, Coach E.T., he's a hell of a cornerbacks coach. So if we were to go out and hire somebody from the outside, Coach E.T. is a non-negotiable. He ain't like you're gonna have to leave. You can't come coach here if you want to get rid of E.T. That ain't happening. That's me talking. That's not Coach Heupel, but that's the way that I would do it. I know that the players really like him, but he's just such a good coach. You can't let him go. But I know that the players, like I said, man, they love Coach Inge and they love Coach Garner. Coach Garner, I think he's probably I don't know if I want to say he's getting tired of coaching, but I wouldn't be shocked if he coaches for another few years or something. I don't think he's going to be coaching for too much longer. Hopefully he does because he's obviously doing a great job. But outside of that, bro, there's nobody else on this staff that I would personally feel like we have to hold on to. And then we're going to lose a whole bunch of guys that we need if they leave. So this one from Will's going on, Will. Saying I was on the fence about Tim Third and Banks, but I think that we've got a good opportunity to upgrade. Yeah, I do. And you know what? It's funny, Will, and it's funny to everybody else that we were literally, I was in the middle and really like all night I'm thinking, okay, what can we put out as far as content? And I had a video that I'm actually done with. I don't know if we'll actually put it out, but it was just like a film breakdown of a couple of plays of our offense and of our defense and showing pretty much what the overall issues were with this team. Again, offense, defense over the course of the year. There's more smaller ones, but just like the big ones, just to kind of simplify for everybody. I don't know if we'll still put it out, but with the defense, there was a lot of times when, man, it was a great play call. It was a tremendous play call. You could tell that the play call was designed to be exactly where we were supposed to be. We had guys out there that maybe weren't fully physically capable of getting it done. That was part of it. But like I said, whenever the defense is overly complicated, you have to kind of leave those guys out there because if the younger guys are the ones who are more capable, and they don't know what's going on, tough to put them out there because they're not going to get those checks. So that was the biggest thing for the defense. And then we talked about it having some injuries. Safety play wasn't great. Had some guys that were turning it down too much that won't be back. So that's kind of what's going on with our defense or what has been going on. So we just have to be able to get all-out effort, and we have to have a system that's simplistic enough that we can play young guys. if they're physically better, right? All right, so moving on. Excuse me, this one from Ronnie. So Ronnie is Ronnie's excited about it. Any shot at getting Jim Knowles? I don't know at this point. It's still pretty early on, but I'd say everybody's on the table. Everybody's on the table, right? I don't care if they just got hired by somebody. If we feel like whoever just got picked up somewhere else, if we think that we have to have him, Tennessee will spend whatever we have to spend to put us in the right spot. So I ain't even tripping about the money part of it. And if Coach Banks did step down, there's something we haven't talked about. That's kind of a good thing because we saved some money. I think a $4.3 million buyout. So we have to keep a close eye on that. All right. What's next? This one from Dylan. Promoting Inge feels like a lateral move. I don't know necessarily. I understand why you're saying that. I do. I think that Coach Inge is going to be fine. Like we said, players love Coach Inge. He's a teacher. What did Pete say yesterday? Scheme is one thing, but you've got to be able to teach. It could be a very basic scheme. If you teach it well, then it really doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like he said it, you should be able to just run like your base stuff and be perfectly fine. Because defense, it's a lot about effort. It can get complicated. But I think the Coach Inge would be fine. We'll see how he does in his bowl game. I'm anticipating that we'll see. I think that we'll be fine. All right, so this one from Alpha Man. What's going on, bro? Saying I'm not happy about this. We'll lose some really good players, or I have to pay more in NIL to keep them. I think I don't know if that's necessarily true. I don't. I'm going to say it this way. There are some coaches that, from what I've heard, actually need to be let go. And if we don't let them go, then we're in greater jeopardy of what you just said happening. I think that we'll be in a much worse situation of that happening, where we might have to overspend for them to stick around. So that's what I'm seeing maybe coming next. I think that won't be. I think that might be coming up here pretty soon. All right, so this one from Ben Sherman saying that Coach did what he thought was best for the team. Yeah, I think that that could definitely be said. Again, let me make sure that I point out that I'm not sure, was he 100% fired or did he step down or any of that. To me, at the end of the day, doesn't really matter outside of the fact that if we fired him, then there's some sort of a buyout. All right, so from my dog G White saying that, okay, yeah, so G's been waiting on this one. I already know you've been waiting on this one, G. And Ben is saying that if Coach Chop, Coach Inge, and they are staying, I think all the players will be back. We'll see the future still bright. I'm gonna tell you right now, I don't know about that, dog. Don't know about that. But let's keep it moving. All right, so this one from Evan. All right, so he's talking to Craig, saying that no, he wasn't. We had a ton of talent that bailed him out. I've had issues with him since he got here. His situational play calling is some of the worst I've seen. Yeah, so if you're talking about Banks, I don't even know what the conversation is that you're getting back to, Evan. I would have to disagree personally. I think that Coach Banks, I know it's tough as a fan, but I mean, like, Evan, you should know because we got film breakdowns and we kind of show you and break down what the defense is trying to get done. I mean, he's fundamentally sound with his play calling. Trust me when I tell you that. We're not always executing it. If you're talking about Coach Banks, that's the truth. And I don't think that we necessarily had the proper talent in every spot. There was some good talent in some spots, but on defense, like, and really on offense too, but more so on defense. If you have one hole, that's the whole damn thing. Like, you can't. So many plays that we've gone through, y'all, where it's like everything is perfect except for one person. One thing is being blown, and it turns into a bad situation. So I would have to disagree with that personally. I don't think that Coach Banks is a bad coach. He needs to probably dumb some things down, and he needs to change some things. But he definitely has the mind. I wouldn't be shocked if he goes on somewhere else and he has a just tremendous defense. All right, so this one from G saying that wish him luck, but I look forward to a more pressure, aggressive blitzing defense and in-game adjustments. Okay, so you want to see more pressure. Now, understand that we're bringing pressure. Actually, I think that I got this up. Let me pull this back up for you. So this season, we're blitzing at about 37%, which would put us, I think, at what was that, like fourth in the SEC? Versus the pass, I think that's third in the SEC, and versus the run, I think that's also, it's like fourth or fifth. So we're on the top half of the league as far as blitzing goes, but and I know it doesn't always feel like that, but that's what's actually happening. And actually, Coach Banks, he dialed up more 7-man pressures than anybody in the conference so far this year. And I think that as far as 6-man pressures, he was at like number 2. So he really is dialing up. Okay, yeah, I caught that one, bro. It's all good. All right. OSU has a number 18 offense. Okay. Yeah, they have the number 18 out. So what are you saying? Their defense is just really good? I think that their defense is really good. And they got the dude that was the defensive coordinator for the Patriots, right? I've listened to him. I like one of the things that I love is listening to guys that really like kind of nerd out when it comes to football stuff, because that's how I do. But I love people that I can like learn from. So I've listened. He has a podcast. I don't know if he's still doing it, but I've just listened to him talk about ball. Love listening to it. But I think that Coach Banks is one of those types of minds. I really do. I just think that he was overly complex in maybe some situations, and it didn't work out for us with such a young defense. But yeah, I think that their defense, the Buckeyes defense, is good. All right, so Ben saying that we need to have a much more basic defense, learn to tackle. Yeah, guys got to be able to tackle better. I think some of that is, in my opinion, I think some of that's with the personnel. That's just me. But yeah, we definitely have to find somebody that's going to emphasize that even more, maybe. All right, so Big Dog's got to eat. Big Dog's got to eat, saying that, do we think that we can get a better DC than Tim Banks? Any options that I think would be a good fit? Yeah, so I just talked about Coach Brian Haynes from Indiana. I would love to have him. Coach Knowles, who I think, is he at Penn State right now? I think that he's at Penn State right now. Those are the two just off the top of my head. It's not very many. Obviously, if we could get the Buckeyes defensive coordinator, he would. I think that you would probably run into some of the same situations as we did with Coach Banks, because he is one of those guys that is just so smart that sometimes it's difficult to translate that to the coaches and then for that message to get to the players. But I think that he would know what to do. But it's one thing for you to know what to do. Does your defense know what to do, right? But yeah, and then I think that you could be a lot more basic playing in a basic ass conference, man. Like who are you playing in the Big Ten? It's 4 or 5 teams. It might not even all be on your schedule, but there's 4 or 5 teams out there. Everybody else sucks. So, and everybody else is very basic with their offensive stuff as well. All right, so let me get to them from Evan, saying that the biggest issue was situational play calling, not play calling as a whole, like calling cover 0 on 3rd and long, for instance. Yeah, did that multiple times. Yeah, okay, I definitely feel you on that. Yeah, also, I didn't love, to your point, like the situational play calls in the red area, like on the goal line. I don't agree with running 0 on the daggum goal line, or like within like the 10-yard line. I think that you could run man, but the middle, like you got to have some sort of a middle zone. You have to. Like you absolutely have to. If you're playing man, if they're gonna throw it, make them throw it to the outside on the shorter field. And I don't know how more defensive coordinators don't do that. But yeah, and I mean, Banks definitely, he didn't do that, in my opinion, enough. So yeah, I'm right there with you. So Evan is saying for a favorable down and distance. Yeah, feel you. So G, pressures or more like showing pressure then back off, but all out 8-man blitz has been low, below 32%. Looking back at the former days, we rarely backed off when showing pressure. Yeah, and I feel you on that. Like as far as the 8-man pressures, like you're rarely going to see that these days. You could bring 8-man pressures back with former, because there was such a run first. Like teams were, I mean, every team was over 50% run. Like well over that. They barely really threw it. You know what I'm saying? Like they would throw it, but I mean, shoot, if you're throwing the football about 40% of the time back then, hey, this is a West Coast offense. You know what I'm saying? Like this is a spread offense. But these days, man, it's so much more balanced. Most teams are actually leaning more towards dropping back to pass the football more. And because the field is so spread out, if you bring 8-man pressures too much, you're going to get killed. Like you're going to get absolutely killed. So I don't think that it works these days, but I feel what you're saying. Maybe just dialing up more pressures. I don't like the way that we brought the pressures either. I don't necessarily love always just like safety blitzes. You could dial it up sometimes. I think we could have done more cornerback blitzes, which we haven't done any of those. I mean, yeah, star blitzes, but now I'm talking about like a real cornerback blitz on a short side of the field. Instead of having the cornerback like playing in the box almost kind of like a linebacker. Bro, let him blitz off the edge and throw some stuff off, because he can't hold up versus offensive linemen and tight ends coming out to block him. That's just not going to work. So some of that stuff, yeah, I get why he's doing it, but does it really make sense? No, probably not. Some of that stuff didn't, to me, make too much sense. Yeah, felt you on that, dog. All right, so Big Dog's got to eat. Okay, yeah, man. It's all good. Appreciate y'all, man, and please do make sure to like and subscribe if y'all are in here. Okay, so all right, I see that G's getting to somebody else. Okay, I'm gonna try to get to. Let me see what G's saying here. I mean, dial it up more than once again. We could do that. Yeah, I mean, I feel what you're saying, but the point that I'm trying to make though is that these blitzing ratios, this is every single snap over the course of the season. And like the rankings, it's the same for every other team. So it doesn't feel like Tennessee's dialing up blitzes because they're not really getting there. But Tennessee we were dialing it up. We were. It's just I think the way that we were dialing them up wasn't necessarily great. All right, so this one, Tennessee, you can't blitz like that anymore. Yeah, it's too easy to rob or just one person get beat. What we saw a lot was screens that would break from one block. Yep. I think like a lot of it was really just based off of the fundamentals. And, like I keep on saying, he really wasn't as bad from a schematical standpoint as some people. Don't love the situational stuff, but it actually probably still could have worked. Let me go ahead and get to this one. So saying Muschamp or Jim Knowles, yeah, I mean, look, I wouldn't take anybody from the Georgia if they played at Georgia, if they spent a lot of time coaching at Georgia, hell no. Or Alabama. I would not take those guys. And I would say even more than Alabama, for sure, Georgia. I promise you, dog. Like they'll sabotage. They're not really gonna go all out. Like the last coach that we had that was like really deep from Georgia. I guess maybe Pruitt. So Pruitt was more of like an Alabama guy, but he had some strong Georgia ties, some strong like South Georgia. I guess he's more of an Alabama guy. Which I think that Coach Pruitt, quiet as this kept, he wasn't a bad defensive coordinator. Now, I mean, from a scheme standpoint, he knew what he was doing, and he knew how to go find dogs too. But Coach Dooley, I mean, he's the worst coach in Tennessee history. Period. That was a horrible hire. Like, you want to talk about a stone cold idiot? That whole staff, stone cold idiots. That is the staff that was idiots. Coach Jones, I don't think that he was an idiot. I don't think he's a real football guy. Coach Pruitt, he's a real football guy. Wasn't an idiot. I just think the things he just couldn't really put it all together. He might not have been like a head coach, but just wanted to kind of throw that out there to you. I personally wouldn't take Coach Muschamp just for that reason. All right. So Arnett is the answer. So who is Arnett? I don't know who that is. Maybe you can fill me in on that. But yeah, we're about to start looking into it, man. Like we're about to start really breaking down a lot more coordinators. I'm gonna start going through a lot of the stats and seeing who's doing what well. You got to be able to stop the run first. You got to be able to pressure the quarterback. I want to see very minimal missed tackles. And I don't really necessarily care what the coverages are because any coverage can work. This one saying the Inge was pretty darn good at Washington as DC. Yeah, and Inge's linebackers looked really good too. When he was there, they looked really good. All right, let me see if we can get to some more of these. So Zevi saying all I'm saying is the grass isn't always greener. This makes me a little nervous. Yeah, I can understand it. But they're gonna have to. I think that we'll be fine. It's not gonna be. I don't think it's gonna be super easy just to go out and whoever we get's gonna be better. I definitely don't think that. But there are some guys that could be competent and could maybe be a step forward in different ways. So this one, saying yeah, but Banks is responsible for the talent. So that's one too. I disagree with that because I mean some right, yes, but you also have to understand that Coach Heupel controls the money. He's the one who controls that money. We spent a lot of money on the defensive line. That's why the defensive line looks good. Some of that's going to be from Coach Garner, but I think most of that's, and I can tell you because I've heard some of the players and what they're getting offered from Tennessee in different spots. Totally different if you are a defensive lineman, okay, like an edge rusher versus if you're like a safety. Safeties are not getting anywhere near that. We spend a lot on the defensive line, but not as much, even on linebackers. Linebackers get paid pretty well for the most part. But our secondary, they're not really, they ain't getting paid a whole bunch of money. Now, that's on Coach Heupel. I think that he's overspent for offense. Yeah, I mean, let's go out and get some guys. I think that we're fine there. Just hold on to what we have. Whatever the budget is for the offense, that's the ceiling. Make it work. The defense needs guys too. Defense needs guys. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that's going to change, and that's just one of the things that I don't think too many people talk about with how we're bringing in players. Like I think we probably would spend like the least on safeties and on running backs. You know what I mean? So that's typically why you're not seeing super highly rated players coming in at those spots. So Evan right here, he's got something else that he wants to get off his chest, saying I know that we're more of an attacking front with our defensive line, but when you play guys like Pavia, you have to coach lane integrity and rush as a team more than penetrating upfield stuff. Yeah, and that's a good point because something else with Coach Banks' scheme, we technically run a 3-3-5 that is run kind of like a 4-2-5 a lot of the times. So it's different principles for a 3-man front versus a 4-man front, right? There's it's just like there's a lot of things with the whole front, with the front line on the line of scrimmage, and then with your linebackers, which also changes things for the secondary because you always have to be fundamentally sound from a run gap standpoint. So the different coverages changes things. There's a lot that goes into it, and I'm not going to bore y'all with it because most people probably won't even know what I'm talking about. But when I say that, I didn't really like that either. I don't like the fact that it's too much of a hybrid defense. It's too multiple. Coach Banks wants to be perfect, which I like that you want to be perfect, but you also have to understand that nobody and nothing is ever going to be perfect. So take away what you can take away and make it as easy on the defense as humanly possible. But I do think that that was part of the problem with, hey, we're not setting a good edge. Or like P said yesterday, we got multiple players inside of the same damn gap. Shouldn't happen unless you're dialing up a blitz. And typically those are all more like passing blitzes where you're trying to get like an isolation versus an offensive lineman or whoever that you think, hey, this is going to be favorable because they struggle versus this look, right? So yeah, that's kind of I don't know if hopefully that made some type of sense to y'all. But yeah, I think that if we could find a defense that maybe isn't quite as multiple, or if it's going to be a 3-3-5, it's a 3-3-5. If it's going to be a 4-2-5, it's a 4-2-5, so on and so forth. 2-4-5, 2-4-5. All right. So this one, so 99.9 said that Banks wasn't involved much in, didn't want to be just, or he did not want to be. Okay. So recruit them and I'll coach them up. Yeah. I find that very weird if he's not in, but I'm gonna also say this because we talked about it on this channel, right? That he probably needed to take a step back because something else that I've heard about Coach Banks is that high school players didn't necessarily vibe with him too well. Now, I'm not going to say every single one. Some of them liked him. Some of them just didn't really vibe with his personality. So that could have been part of the reason here recently he's taken that step back. And I don't think that, man, look, it's got to be a hard thing for anybody to tell you, hey, man, players ain't really feeling you, dog. So we don't want for you to be talking too much. Like, we just want for you to sit back and just kind of, I mean, I don't know how he takes that, but for him to at least be willing to take that backseat, I think that that's kind of a positive thing. But yeah, maybe we could upgrade from that standpoint, go out and get a DC that could be better with the players and with the coaches and all of that. So that's a good point. Okay, so this one from Evan saying that, I mean, yeah, Spires are good, but you can't call that every play. Yeah, it's more about the front and players keeping their lanes and contained. I'm right there with you too. I think that we probably could have dialed up some more spies, or at least some spies. I didn't necessarily notice any spies versus Vandy, but they also could have saw our tendencies well enough that they gave us a look that made us get out of the spy because maybe a spy was called and then we had to change from that, or maybe the spy was on and we just didn't know that we were on. Like one of the players just didn't know that they were spying. That's possible too. But yeah, I understand what you're saying. You don't always have to spy, and you can't always spy. That's a problem too. So this one right here from Chet saying that Banks might not have been the problem, but he didn't help. Go get us a young psycho for a defensive coordinator. Let him coach these damn bullies and athletes we have on the defense. Okay, like that, man. Like that. This one from G saying that Banks has always struck me as an antisocial, very quiet. Yeah. Yep. I think that's just kind of like what his personality is, man. This one right here is saying that they're up for Mayo. I would be open to that thought as well. I mean, that's a VFL. I think that he could probably come in and obviously he's gonna know he's gonna know how it's supposed to look. He's gonna know what defense is supposed to look like here at Tennessee. So G saying who's a better college football coach, potentially Banks or Mayo. So it's hard for me to say about Mayo because I've never seen Mayo coach in college. Did he ever coach in college? He might have, and maybe I just missed it. I don't know. I mean, obviously going from college or going from the NFL to college, it is so different. So there's so many things that you have to worry about. But Mayo, if he doesn't want to have to deal with the players, he could be like Coach Banks. And that does, to me, it's not necessarily like a bad thing. But as long as he can dial up things where it makes logical sense and the players understand that, I'm fine with it. And he obviously he's going to love Tennessee. So we'll see, man. I think that we should start to hear some buzz about some names here within the next couple of days because we got to go try to find somebody. We should at least hear some type of buzz. So this one from Evan saying that we got to nail this hire, though. I'll look at what Inge did at Washington, but we do got to make sure that we get someone proven. Yeah, Banks wasn't god-awful. He was just not enough. Yeah, I feel you. Feel you right there. We keep on getting a whole bunch of Will Muschamps. I'm going to bring this back up since this came back up. Man, I would not take anybody from the Georgia tree. He's a Georgia guy through and through, and also players hated Coach Muschamp, which is why he's not really doing any coaching now. He's like an analyst or something because players couldn't stand him. He's an asshole. Which can kind of be good. Like we might need some of that, but you also don't want your players tapping out. Think about him in Florida. Players tapped out on him. But yeah, I would never. I mean, he's a Georgia and a Florida guy. Would never take him. You know, I would never. I mean, no. Give me somebody else. There's got to be somebody else. Wilcox is my number one guy if we can get him. All right. So dang. Let me get to this one. My bad. This one from Evan saying that I'm not sure Muschamp would ever leave Kirby in Georgia. He's got it good there, and they play together. Yeah, I mean, he just needs to stay there. I would much rather him just stay there personally. But anyway, y'all, that is gonna do it. Appreciate y'all for all chiming in. Obviously, huge day. I'm about to get back inside the lab and see what types of coaches, what types of defensive coordinators might be the best fit. It could end up being Coach Inge. I mean, I wouldn't be too shocked if Coach Inge comes out and maybe the defense looks better. Maybe we stick with that, but we'll see. And that could also, as I touched on earlier, some of y'all might have missed this, that could also be better because we don't want to lose Coach Inge. We don't want to lose Coach Inge. We don't want to lose Coach ET. As far as defense goes, outside of that, I mean, and also Coach Garner. Outside of that, I mean, it doesn't really matter. And then let me get to this right here from Ben saying that I bet Coach has someone that he's spoken with. Yes, I think that he's probably already been doing that. They should always have a short list. Every coach, every AD should always have a short list. So we'll see what Coach Heupel ultimately wants to do. But appreciate y'all. Please make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. And we might be talking to y'all later on tonight. All right. Thanks. Peace.